Good morning. Welcome, everybody. This is the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. You are on the Coffee Break Show. My name is Vickie Helm, and today we have the man, the myth, the legend. Today we are going to be speaking with Kellan Fluckiger, if I have that last name right. And we are going to have a party today. It is going to be so cool and so fun. Listen, if you're new to the Smart Life Club, put your name down below. We want to be introduced to you. We want to say hello to you. If you're here for every Wednesday, today we are going to rock your world. Today is going to be such an important day. There are key factors to success. There are key factors to winning, and we are going to go ahead and go into them. I see you coming on board. I just want to say good morning to everybody. And we go live Monday through Friday, and we share tips, tools, techniques, and we share all kinds of things that are going to help you create thrivability in your life. And today, I have someone on the show that I actually really admire. And it's not just I like this person or I've worked with this person. I think this person is the real deal when it comes to coaching. And I mean the real deal. He's got 13 books out right now. And he has, it's like several books. What I like about this man is that he is tenacious as all get out. This is the guy that is, when he says it's done, it's done. Let me tell you something. This is a man who has cheated death so many times and come back, and his entire being it's all about transformation. Like if you want transformation, this is the guy. We're going to go deeply into that today. We're going to talk about how to create transformation so that even your words become action. And I just want to welcome Kellan Fluckiger to the Coffee Break Show. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Well, thank you. I don't know what to say after that gushing introduction. I feel like am I red or something? Oh, dear. But anyway, thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here. And you're right. Everything that I do from first breath to last breath every day is about love and service, because that's really what matters. And that includes building business. And as you know, and as you would preach also, you build your business better when it's based on service and love. And I used to not understand that. I used to think that the service was a gimmick and the talk and all that other stuff. Been through that minefield and come out the other side and like, yeah. So
that's such an important thing for me, because everything I do, I just feel as though when we talk about love, for me, that's a resonance. It's a type of frequency. And the higher it is, the more attractive it is. And people can feel whether you love what you're doing or you love them or you love or have a passion for it. I don't care what industry it is, but it just appears to me that if you have a state of love, if you live in a state of love, you're just kind of a client attractor at that point, you know?
Well, my favorite saying, I was on a radio show a few days ago, and it happens a lot, but people ask me, what are the words you live by? And they hadn't told me I was going to be asked that question. And I have pages of life declarations and things called personal truth and commitment that I've written and memorized and rehearse every day. And they literally drive my life. But anyway, what popped to me is a sign that I have in my office out there, which is this. And I said, I never look for clients. Yes. I look for people to love, opportunities to serve, and problems to solve.
Oh, gosh. Somebody write that down. I never look for clients. I look for opportunities for people to love, problems
to love, opportunities to serve, problems to solve.
I love that. There's
a reason for that. People to love, I can do that unilaterally. I don't need anybody's permission to love them.
Yes.
Opportunities to serve takes a little bit of cooperation. If I'm really going to serve Vickie or somebody else, I need to know enough about you to know what would actually be of service. And again, but it's something I can choose to do if you'll share just a little. Problems to solve is much deeper, and you've got to share some real things with me. And if I love someone and I've taken the opportunity to get to know them and they've shared something with them with me so I can serve them, when we get to the level of problems to solve, then they talk about hiring me as a coach. But we don't even get there until people to love, opportunities to serve, and problems to solve. And I mean that. When I go into every conversation, I never think about clienthood. I just think about that sort of level thing.
And see, to me, this is the difference. And I want to talk about, and today we're gonna talk about how to transform your words into action, because one of the things that most people really have a hard time with is they want to be of service. They want to have the kind of opportunities that you're talking about. They want to have the kind of connection with clients that you have, and they can't seem to get started. They can't seem to figure out who they are in the conversation, or how they actually want to serve, or where they're being led. And I'm thinking to myself, I just kind of want to go talk to you and ask, let's talk about how we put action. How do we ignite action in ourselves? I mean, I know how I do it, but how do you do it? How do we begin to transform into somebody who takes their words and puts them into action?
Okay. So each person listening right now, and you can think of times in your life when you've been absolutely committed and you do whatever. You skip sleep, you get up early, you grind, and you do stuff. Why? Because you're driven by something. Something in you is driving that set of action, that committed behavior. The problem we come into is that we don't know how to create that committed behavior. It sort of shows up when we feel like it.
Yeah.
And so we don't really know what the mechanics are of making a heart commitment, a truth, internal commitment to something. We don't know how to do that on purpose. Because when you have that, the way I say that, and this came to me in a shamanic breathwork session when I was having visions of whatever, out of body experience, from the place of being, the doing becomes trivial. So if you learn, and there's a process to do this, and I'm not going to just say platitudes, when you have become something,
yes,
then doing stuff is like easy because it's who you are. Like an easy way to say that is I'm a human, so I breathe. I don't have to remind myself to breathe. So I breathe, I eat because I'm human. My stomach tells me to. All these things remind me. What if you could be love? What if you could be service in that same way? Then speaking to someone with love and not thinking about clienthood and can I enroll them?
Yes.
Wouldn't be difficult. Remembering to make 25 phone calls today to see if you can find somebody to serve wouldn't be hard, because you're not doing the rejection game. No, I don't want to talk to you. No, I don't. What's wrong with me? You wouldn't be playing that whole game because you're being somebody else. And so the secret is, how do I be that thing? All right. So then let's talk about that. One massive tool that I have developed and I keep refining and I use with all my clients is a morning ritual. And a morning ritual is a process of connecting every single day. And you can't skip it. It's not like do it sometimes. In the beginning you do, but pretty soon it becomes so powerful that I would no sooner skip my morning ritual than run outside in Edmonton naked in -40. I just wouldn't do that. It's not something I have to remember to do. It's friggin' cold outside. I'm not doing that, right? Okay. So the morning ritual is a process that you develop to remind yourself of who you are. Gee, how do I remind myself who I am if I don't know? Well, how about if you decide, like people think they're going to find that clarity, like an excavation in the backyard. I'm going to go dig it up. It's a declaration, not an excavation.
That's right. That's beautiful. It was fun that you said that, but I think it's so important. I'm hearing an echo there. I think it's so important because there is a point in your lifetime where I believe that every person has a source of service within them. And if we're outside of ourselves, I don't even think we can touch it. But when we're inside a little bit, and I do this ritual every morning, every single morning, I sit down and the first person I connect with is me and the divine. And in that moment, when I'm connected in that way, I feel of service all day long, all day long, all the time, in the moment. And that's, to me, one of the strongest ways to live. Thank you, everybody. I see you all talking. Kellan's here. If you have questions for him, because we're going to keep going deeper into what he's saying. And I like this. Wow, what a game changer. It is. It is when we have connection with ourselves. Kellan, I want to talk about this because I know a lot of people, some people have this, some don't. I was one of those children when I was born. I felt really purposeful. I always knew that I was here to change the world. I always knew that I was here to be in service, always. What happened was, though, I got tied up in looking for the thing I was supposed to do. And the thing I'm supposed to do was here now. I was born for this moment in history. However, there's like 30 other years that you're waiting for, and looking and searching and trying to find something that feels purposeful or feels like you're supposed to be in purpose. And what I want to know is, what is your kind of definition of being in the moment, in purpose? Or how do you find, when you thought, okay, this is not me, I'm going to move here, this is who I am? What are the things that you opened up to? What are 3 things you can help somebody do or contact within themselves, not to find a purpose, but to be kind of purposeful feeling? Do you understand my question?
I love that, the way you said that, because finding, I have a saying, clarity is overrated.
Yeah.
It is not found, it is created. Okay, and it's a little rhyming thing. Okay, clarity is overrated. It's not found, it is created. A lot of people act like clarity is something I'm going to go dig up in the yard. You start with a declaration, clear enough for action. If I'm in a fog, and if I don't do anything, I stay in the fog. If I take a step or a few steps in a given direction, things either become more clear or less clear. If they're less clear, it's not a good direction. If they're more clear, it feels good. There's some resonance there. I'm moving in a good direction. One of the things that you asked me before we started about dying, and so I'm going to talk about that for a sec. Is
yes.
That okay? All right.
Mr. Keith's
so 2 years ago, this month, in fact, might be 2 years ago today and yesterday, I went in the hospital. I had a lethal superbug. We talked in coronavirus about mortality rates from a tenth of a percent, like flu, up to 5 or 6% or whatever. The mortality rate of the bug I had, it has a 10-day kill rate of 100%. Okay. And 60% if you're in the hospital. So that's what I had. I had necrotizing MRSA in both lungs. I didn't get to the hospital till the end of day 5. A few hours after I got in the hospital, I did a crash, code red, green, blue, black, orange, whatever the hospital is, and was in not only intensive care, but biological isolation for weeks.
Yep, I remember.
I had 3 conversations with God at the door between life and eternity. Not going to do all the details now. If you want to read about it, it's in a book called Meeting God at the Door. No surprise. So I had 3 conversations, and here's the reason I'm mentioning this. Here were 4 things that came out of that. Number 1, every person on this call and not on this call is a divine intentional creation of that God, however you conceptualize it. You're here on purpose. Number 2, you have agreed upon assignments that you were excited about and anxious to come and do. Now, that's not one thing, that changes over time. Number 3, you have the gifts and talents you need to do them. They were given to you in connection with that agreement. And number 4, all the help you need is available from both sides of the equation. Now, those 4 things came to me and were part of that conversation. And then I went on and said, great, if that's true, I don't say if, you don't say if then. Since that's true, why do we settle for crumbs? And the answer, I don't know if in the economy of heaven, brevity is a virtue, but the answer was 4 words: because you don't believe. And I said,
whoa.
Okay, what am I supposed to do about that? Glad you asked. And the next thing was what I have written in the book of Context, which is a process to change beliefs. But here's the key, that the responding instead of doubting to that feeling of service. In any moment in your life, if you go into love and say, what would love do now in this conversation, in this situation. If I'm a divine creator, if I'm willing for a moment just to accept that thing, even if I haven't before, if I'm willing to just say, okay, what would that person do right now in this conversation? Because we don't live week to week. We live moment to moment.
That's
so
right.
in this moment right now, what would love do? What would love and kindness and creativity and generosity and charity, what would that do to this person or say right now? And if you act that way in every conversation, clients, I don't care what you're selling, they'll fall all over you because they can't find that kind of intense caring, service, intention, openness, authenticity, fill in the blank with all the buzzwords. It isn't there. There's always ulterior motive. There's a squirmy energy. There's weirdness. If you dispense with that and you just be in service in that moment, moment to moment, client enrollment is easy. It's easy. And so the morning ritual, mine's an acronym, SPEM, spiritual, physical, emotional, mental, and we may or may not talk about the details. But it starts with spiritual, and it's a declaration of who you are. You could start with, I'm a divine creation here for a purpose, and I commit with every action to do something with that today. And that starts with what you think about while you brush your teeth. It starts with the first text you send. It starts with, if you have a partner, how you greet and be with them. Like, if you are that, what do I do? And we all fall off the wagon and screw up and say, I shouldn't have said that. Okay, fine. Don't ruin your life or your day. Recommit, get up on the horse, and continue. I know I'm speaking fast and saying a lot.
I know, I love it. My heart is melted and my hair is standing up. My heart was really melted with that because this is the point. I think we have echo here. This is the point in life where we are restructuring, rethinking, and reimagining everything, including who we are and what we do and how we interact with the world. And I think somehow this point that you just made so beautifully about being strictly in that moment and asking the question right now of what would love do? Wow, you guys are really having a conversation here. So when you get to the point where you have been in the moment, you're looking, instead of looking for purpose or to become a purpose or to have a purpose or to be some sort of thing, when you start to connect with yourself and you be that sort of thing of who you are in the moment, I feel like you're tapping into a part of you that has authenticity. It's the part of you that's willing to show up. And so it's not just that we're looking for purposefulness. And I want to go back to the point where we're talking about it's because you don't believe that, because I think some of those things right there, if sin was anything, it's the lack of belief, or it's the lack of that thing, What you said was so powerful. I could spend the whole day on just that, on just what you said. It's that powerful. It's that transformational. And I think that we don't want to get to the point where we're taking the conversation lightly. That you just got the keys to the kingdom. Everybody who's listening, we just got the keys to the kingdom right there. May I ask, let's go a little bit further into when you become love. And I want to talk about the level of authenticity, because I think that is belief. But being able to be authentically who you are in the moment, looking for the moment, looking how to serve that moment, you become authentically who you are. You're not trying to be something else outside of yourself. You're not trying to create a mask or a persona of some sort. And I want to say, when you were at the door and the belief came, what part of you kind of awakened? What part of you said, it's like you're not using your brain? What part of you woke up inside? Tell us more about, how did you come to that authentic beingness inside? Do you understand?
So I've lived one of the books you mentioned before we started was a book I wrote about my own journey called Tightrope of Depression.
Yes.
I lived decades with undiagnosed, untreated depression. I was trying my whole life to prove that I was somebody, and spent years on the world stage making boatloads of cash, but behind the scenes, a battlefield of ruined life and ruined relationships and drug addiction and all of that kind of stuff that goes with it, just like a movie script. I mean, think of any movie you've ever seen about that. Yeah, you could do that. Vickie's read the book. It's movie worthy, right? You could do that.
It is. It's hard to read.
And here's the thing. So that means I lived with the phrase, "you're not good enough," tattooed in my eyes and in my heart all the time. So when that essence comes, the feeling, like we all share the fear of inadequacy, and we share the yearning to matter. So those two things, if you think of yin yang, are juxtaposed in all of our hearts, including mine. Okay, we share the fear of inadequacy and a yearning to matter. And we desperately or deeply desire to serve and deeply fear judgment and rejection. Yes. So those things are juxtaposed in us all the time. And like the Indian legend, the one you feed. So I can't give you a magic pill that will make the fear of inadequacy and the fear of judgment and rejection go away. You're going to have to live with those and laugh at them till you don't breathe anymore.
Yes. And getting to the point where you stop believing them and start laughing at them, that's the belief point to me. That point where the two come together. How would you, or not how, I want to say, how would you build a bridge from one side to the other if you gave a crap about what people thought all the time? I mean, without coming to suicide and death or, anything, depression.
Here's the thing. There's a simple question. Now, this process is outlined in the book of context. So I'm going to tell you a 4-step process that you can use.
Every time he mentions a book, thank you for putting up in there. That's a good book.
Okay, context is defined as the set of beliefs, definitions, experiences, expectations, and perceptions. That's an acronym, be deep. Your beliefs, definitions, experiences, expectations, perceptions. It's how you think the world works. So you and I, we live in a context straitjacket. It has nothing to do with reality. It's what we think reality is. So here's the thing. I'm afraid to talk to someone. I'm afraid to make a phone call, visit, network, say so. I'm afraid of that. Something, stomach, I'm going to think whatever. That happens. So instead of going and taking a course about how not to be afraid and trying to fight with that, white-knuckled like an addict tries to not use, instead of doing that, ask a different question. Okay. First, what do I believe? Well, I believe the world will end. They'll hate me. I'm stupid. It's wrong. Whatever that list is, right? And it's my true belief right now because it's eating my lunch and tearing my guts up. Okay. If, I'm not saying change your belief. If I believed something else, what could I believe? What do I think Kellan believes, or Robin believes, or Superman believes, or, well, he probably believes he can just go do that and go make those conversations. That's probably what he believes. Okay, cool. And you could believe that. Yeah, but I don't. I know, but you could. Well, I could, but I don't. Okay, fine. You don't have to. If you did believe that, if you did believe, so making a list of 2 or 3 things you could believe or that you think someone else might believe, if you believe that, what would you do? Well, then I would just go talk to him. Okay, cool. So you don't have to believe it. You know that if you did believe it, you would just go do whatever that is. Make that phone call, visit that person, write that email. You do that. Go exercise, whatever it is. And so without believing it, let's just play a game. And the game is, I don't believe that, but I know if I did, I would. So let's just go do it anyway. just to see what happens. I don't have to believe anything.
Wow.
I'm just playing a game. And often what happens when we do those things is we get unexpected results. And the unexpected results is the key. Because without changing what you believe, the unexpected result makes you say, what else could I do? Well, I could do that. I still don't believe anything different. I'm not playing that game. But I could do, and when you get 3 or 4 or 5, and it doesn't happen every time, but when you get 3 or 4 or 5 unexpected results, then you're faced with a situation where you look at this and say, I actually could believe this other thing. I didn't, but look what happened. I have some empirical evidence in my life with my personality and my situation, not some fantasy about somebody else. Look what happened. And it was just because I was willing to play a game. And when that pile of unexpected results gets big enough, then you consider, well, maybe I could believe something else. But it's not in a vacuum. It is with this accumulation of unexpected results. And what happens is then beliefs change themselves. You don't have to go to war with a belief. You just have to identify what else it could be, what I would do, and am I willing to play the game of unexpected results?
Beautiful. It's like how to put yourself in neutral and take another path, take another gear. I'm really sitting with everything that you're saying because the thing that is super important for what's happening now is that we have so many conversations. I'm sorry, we have echo going on. We have so many conversations right now about what is going to happen and what people think and how they're reacting or not reacting to what is, and being caught in a set of beliefs and being able to challenge them, for lack of a better word, by asking a different question, by being able to move your constructs. The most important thing that you can find out is that you can transform your constructs, that you can I think we can transform anything. I mean, you're pretty much living proof of the ultimate in transformation. How then do we put words in? How can we turn our words? How can we get more action from ourselves? I mean, I know how I do it. I want to hear how, what 3 things could you give them right now that will begin the transformation process? Because I think the most important thing that you're saying right now is you can become or change anything, in that.
You can, and I couldn't scream that loud enough. You can have anything you want. You can be anything you want. You can do anything you want. So if you're talking about words, step 1 is listen. Listen to what you say, internally and externally. What is your dialogue? And this is where authenticity matters. Tell the truth.
Yes.
Like, am I bashing? Yes. Am I ripping myself? How am I talking? What is my language right now? Because most of us, we just do this without thinking, and we have an attitude inside and outside. So spend a day or half a day or all day just listening to what you say and how your internal dialogue and external dialogue plays out. Is it tinged with doubt? Is it tinged with negativity? Am I constantly saying stuff to myself that I wouldn't say to my best friend? Like, just become aware of what your language is. So that's step 1. Step 2, ask yourself if you like it. Are you happy with your language? Do you like the way you talk to yourself? Would you say all the shit you say to yourself out loud about yourself in the presence of your best friend, who would say, how dare you talk to my friend that way? I mean, like, let's tell the truth here. What is your language inside and outside about yourself? To start with, we'll expand that in a minute. I have a whole program called Build Powerful Relationships when we talk about, anyway, it doesn't matter. What is your language about yourself? Tell the truth. Second, do you like it? If it isn't good and it's disempowering and it's bashing and it's negative and it's doubtful and it's hurtful, then the next question is, Are you willing to consider something else? And this is where you go to the context rules. Well, if I loved me, if I really loved myself, what would I talk like? What would my
I
language be
say.
like? What would I say inside and outside if I looked myself in the mirror and really loved that person? I don't have to love me. In fact, I'm a piece of crap. I know. But if I did love me, what would I say? Well, then I would say this. And this is where you play the game. Well, let's talk like that and see what
Happens. Beautiful. I mean, that's like the most powerful thing that you can do is realize. I think that I'm not sure why or how or whatever, but we come in as this power, this birthed power, and maybe we don't know how to use our legs and everything else, but we have like these divine abilities that we do not tap into. And the divine abilities of being able to shift, to be able to transform, it's like you can shape shift. The object of shape shifting anything in that moment, and it happens over time. It doesn't, well, sometimes it can happen immediately, sometimes it could just be immediately, but the ability to believe that you can transform, I mean, the actual real ability to believe that you can transform, that's what makes someone like their superhuman self in that purpose driven way, if you will, for lack of a better word. And I want to spend a couple of seconds here talking about, because people are just, every day, every moment is an exercise of what I could believe. The aha moment is a moment of recognition of what I believe and that it actually works. And I want to talk about talking to yourself, because that's where I started. I think it started, years ago, when I realized that I just beat myself up all through the day. And I was thinking, the thing that happened to me, the thought that occurred to me is, what would my productivity be like if I encouraged myself throughout the day? Instead of just like, you didn't get this done and you didn't get that done and you're just a loser and blah, 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 blah. I was thinking about the quality of my life. What would it be if I said something? And one of the brilliant things that you just said that really was important for me is really taking the time to listening to yourself and being honest, because you don't realize it's like a nanosecond. It's a subtlety that, see, you're a jerk. See, you don't know enough. It happens so fast that you say it and you believe it. And when you have that belief of it, sometimes it validates what you say, when what you say to yourself is bullshit. And so to me, I'm like looking at this from this moment. And I remember going through, I think, Kellan, I went through about a decade spending time reevaluating everything I said to myself. And around here, we say thoughts can only do two things. That's it. They'll either empower you or impair you. And you have the choice. And once you realize that you aren't the thought is not you, and that it's either going to empower you or impair you, you start thinking, when those disempowering thoughts come, you're like, nope, don't want you here. And that practice for about a decade suddenly gave me like a sense of self, that when you start removing thoughts and you start thinking empowering thoughts, I was like, okay, if I can transform my brain, then I can transform my life and I can transform how I feel. But you were absolutely right. You have to be so authentic about that. So authentic. Pop over here. Yes, Kellan Fluckiger, to listen is to be the observer. Perfect. What is your language about yourself? Thank you. That is like, what is your language about yourself? I think that's really the starting point for everyone, is to realize what language are you saying? How abusive are you in your stop, listen, observe without judgment, pivot if needed. Thank you. So I want to say, what's for you? I guess I'm trying to mold this conversation, and I'm trying to figure out how to ask these questions. So once we get to the point where we are learning to empower our thinking, and we have a sense of who we are a little bit more. And we have a sense of maybe something that we want to create, a quality of life we want to create. What would like the next 3 steps be in it's a very hard question because there's so much universal things in there. But what would be the next 3 steps you would tell someone to take after they had completed this, and of course paying attention to the moment? It's a tough question to ask, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. So let me give it a shot, and you can interrupt me and correct me if I'm going in the wrong direction. If you are to a place where you can look yourself in the eye every day and say without hesitation, I love you, several times, and feel it till it resonates and vibrates, and if that's where you live, then you can go to the question, which is, okay, I love me, I trust me, I believe I'm here for a real purpose. And then you go to the questions we were talking about before. Well, okay, since I'm a divine creator and I love myself, and I really know that now, and we're done with this other dialogue, what would that be? Like, what would that do? And there's 4 places you can look, okay, to get a purpose, to figure out what to do next. And you can, if you already have a business and you already have a product or service, you can evaluate them in these same contexts. So step 1 is always do it in the context of serving others, not just in the context of selling crap to others, but in the context of serving. So step 1 is, whatever I'm doing, is it in the context of being of service to someone? Yes or no? And if it isn't right now, okay, cool. No judgment, no harm, no foul. How can I change that? What would I do to move gradually or adjust in that direction? Because that's part of that old language pattern that we don't do. Fix it now, you suck. We don't do that. So if you discover something that's not there, the next thing is an on-ramp to change it. So number 1 is do it in the context of others, serving others, really serving with love and kindness that person, because you are now love and kindness. That was the assumption. The second thing is look to the gifts and talents that you have. Like, what do you do really well? What do you like to do? What are you able to do? What do you enjoy doing? What do people come to you for? Is it advice? Is it help? Do you build things? My wife is a great eBay retailer. She takes really good care of her customers. She loves antiques and collectibles and has forever. And so she's an expert at Native American things and old China. So she's really good and has relationships with people all over the world, selling products and services to people that are collectors. And she takes really good care of them, and they buy over and over and over and over again. Why? Because she loves what she does. It's a gift she has. She got it from her dad because he was an archaeologist and he used to go out and hunt arrow points. Doesn't matter how it got there. So in the context of serving others, number 2, what are the gifts and talents that you have? And trust that you have them for a reason and they're part of your beingness. Don't say, am I going to throw away all this and find some new ones? Why would that be true? And that doesn't mean you can't go looking for some others to develop. Start with what you have and where you are. Okay. Third point, let the adversity that you have struggled with, that has beat you down, broken you, and hurt you, shape you, mold you, and refine you. Because every piece of adversity is refining and creates in you a specialized empathy and love that will let you relate to a different group of people in a special way that others can't. So look to your adversity for advice, for refinement. Don't be angry with it. Don't be mad. Don't hate the people that caused it. Like, don't do that. I went through decades of depression, drug addiction, rehabilitation, world stage stuff, terrified that I was going to get found out, discovered, on and on and on, out-of-body experiences. Holy crap. I mean, this list is long. I look at it all with enormous gratitude. It has refined me in a way that lets me do and be who I am and what I am like nobody else. I love it. So look to your adversity for advice and refinement. And number 4, the last one, trust your divine intuition. Now, what Vickie talked about in getting centered with yourself, S in my SPEM, spiritual, includes meditation, prayer if you do that. But connecting with the divine is not just a random thing you do because you can say you meditate. It is for the purpose of
Yes.
fine-tuning and learning to listen to your intuition. Because one of the things I learned in the conversation with God is it helps available from both sides, but you can't hear the other side if you don't know how to tune the receiver.
Yes.
And so meditation and prayer and focus and learning to hear is refining your receiver. So those are the four things, okay? Number one, the context of others. Number two, look to your gifts and talents that you have and enjoy. Use them. If you want to develop others, fine, but start where you are. Number three, let your adversity give you advice and refinement. And number four, develop and trust your divine intuition. And if you do those four things in the context of love and service, I know I'm using love and squishy words, but hardcore business. If you looked at my business career, you'd see I've been in some pretty places in charge of multiple tens of billions of dollars, this, that, and the other.
Right.
So I'm talking about hardcore business here. No matter what you sell, no matter what you do for work, and I want to tie that in because so many people think, yeah, that's nice to have a nice squishy life, but what about paying the bills? This will pay.
Yes, and very handsomely. I want to say, yes. I'm hearing echo. I'm really melted right now in my spirit and my heart. Everything is very melted. It's interesting because somehow we think that divinity doesn't answer all our worldly questions and worldly needs. And I want to talk about what he just said. One of the things, it's like, I think it's Lisa Nichols who said, let your mess be your message. Let your mess be your message. And in there, being able to trust yourself, being able to trust that you went through this experience in such a way that you kind of have a bit of a roadmap. You can help other people get to this place over here, and trusting yourself, trusting love, trusting the divine. And I want to say, it's like, Kellan, it's like there's like a fork in the road that you come to. And it's either going to be that you're going to use your mind to push you through. And you had a lot of success, a lot, like more success than most people ever have in a lifetime, with that, pushing yourself through. Then there's the loving yourself through. And this is a man who's done both. He's done this and he's done this. It doesn't matter. He's done both ways, times. And the thing that's interesting that I think he's telling us right now is, I've done this, and trust me, this way is a lot easier. It's a lot healthier. It's a lot more genuine. It's a lot more, principled. It's a lot more helpful to people when you see this. Kellan, people over here on the side, they're going wild right now. Just a minute, everybody. I got the divine intuition, saw the yes. I feel I help many. Yes, me too. Kellan, I'm enjoying your communication skills of cutting to the chase. Your delivery of a messenger proves to me your understanding of the importance of this conversation. After NDEs, many are given a task. It's apparent you are following through. Thank you. This is really cool. I'm going to pop on here a second. The mind pushes where the spirit allows the experience. We eventually learn which works best. Yes, thank you. I want to go here. I feel this is my life, helping fix things or explaining what it was all about. Thank you. I want to say that Kellan is like one of probably the best coaches that you can work with, in my opinion. I have not heard anything from anyone except, oh my God, he's like a life-changing miracle. How can they be involved with you? What can they do? How can they, if you want to work with Kellan, if you want more connection with him, I would suggest that. Now, I've seen him speak on stage a gajillion times, and he's very fun to work with. He's very fun to listen to. He's got all the answers. Yes, right here. Boom. A coach that actually makes a difference, the real deal. This is the point for me. It's like I don't have just anybody here and say, well, go work with just anybody. You want the real deal, the somebody who's done both. And I really want to ask you, how can they be involved with you?
So the easiest way is I have about 2 months ago, a little over 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, somebody called Joy, my wife. My wife's name's Joy, of course. And that whole story is another divine intervention. If you want to read, when I say help's available from both sides, if you want to read or understand how true that is, read Tightrope. I mean, how Joy came into my life 13 years ago after all this stuff and in the middle of it. And she didn't come in when things were good. She came in right in the middle.
Yeah.
And so, anyway.
It's an intense read, you guys. If you read Tightrope, it's a great book. Go get that. Start.
The sequel's coming out in September, by the way. It's called Down from the Gallows. It's written and it'll be out in about 3 months. Anyway,
sure.
So to get a hold of me. So first, Joy, 2.5 months ago, somebody called because they knew I do motivational stuff. They called my wife, Joy, and says, does Kellan have a podcast? And I've done a bunch of stuff in the past, but I didn't have an active podcast right now. And she could have said, well, yeah, I don't know, maybe. No. Joy said, yes. And then came and said, ahem. And I said, okay. So now we have a 60-something day old podcast. It's daily, 60-something episodes. You want to hear, the name of it is Your Ultimate Life. It's on iTunes and all the regular things. Your Ultimate Life, 15-minute podcasts every day. You want to get a connect? Go there. Second place, YouTube. I have had YouTube videos forever. I've got 1 million videos, but we're starting a new thrust, and it's slightly different. It's called Ultimate Life Formula. Ultimate Life Formula. So those are easy, free places you can do right now. If you want to talk to me personally and you want to see about programs or working with me or something, friend me on Facebook. I'm not hard to find with a name like Kellan Fluckiger. There's only 2 in the world, and the other one's my son. And you'll recognize the difference. Friend me on Facebook and send me a message, and we'll just set up a Zoom and chat and see what you want and see if there's something I can do to help. I mean, I'm not hyping. I don't have a website, sell a bunch of crap. Yeah, I've got 1 million books on Amazon, and I've got music, and I've owned a recording studio, and whatever. If you want to talk to see if there's something I can do to help you create the life you want, friend me on Facebook, send a message, and we'll set up a chat and see what's up. I don't know. I don't know until, like I said in the beginning, people to love, opportunities to serve, and problems to solve. And until we chat, I won't know.
Beautiful. There it is. That's how we get it. Kellan, thank you for this amazingly life-changing conversation and for being on the Coffee Break Show with me. My hair is still standing up. And I got to tell you, I am so, I guess the word, and if you know the Coffee Break Show, this is unusual. I'm feeling very tender and gentle inside after the conversation. And the reason I think that I am is just exactly this right here. It's an amazing conversation. And it was a grounded way of putting it. It wasn't pie in the sky or floofy woofy or, it was very grounded, very practical, very human conversation today. And again, everybody's just popping in with this. And I just am going to say that this has been absolutely wonderful to be with you in this way. Just wonderful. And I want to thank you for being here today.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it. If I can serve you or your audience in any way, let me know. I'm happy to do it.
Okay, you guys, I know what you're thinking. Wow, this was a wow conversation. But you know what? You have access to them. You're crazy if you go get on that podcast, get that friend, find him. He's a great conversationalist and he's really fun and you can have a great conversation with. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank you, Kellan. Thank you, everybody, for being on the Coffee Break Show today. And next Wednesday, we're going to have another great guest, but I just want to welcome you always to the Coffee Break Show, Monday through Friday. Thank you for being here, everybody. Mwah! Peace out.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.